The worst mistake you can make is waiting. Waiting for someone to realize your worth, waiting for them to come back, waiting for them to see what they lost. And yet, here you are, still waiting, still hurting, still replaying every moment in your head, asking yourself, what did I do wrong? You wonder why they picked someone else, why they looked at you, at everything you gave, and still decided you weren't enough. But let me ask you, when has someone ever truly changed their mind because another person sat there and suffered? When has anyone ever suddenly woken up and thought, oh no, I made a mistake, and come running back begging for another chance? Never. Because people don't regret what they think they can replace. And that's the truth no one wants to tell you, but today I will. You need to hear this. Not the soft lies that comfort you, but the hard truth that will set you free. Because the one who walked away from you, they're not confused, they're not scared of commitment. They made a choice, and that choice was not you. Welcome to reality. This is where the fantasy ends. This is where you stop believing that if you just love harder, they'll change. This is where you stop thinking that love alone is enough. Because people do not value what they do not fear losing. They do not change for the ones they take for granted. They change for the ones who demand better or leave. Think about it like this. Have you ever walked into a store and seen a clearance rack? The items are there, easy to grab, easy to ignore. No one rushes to buy them. No one fights for them. They're cheap, replaceable. But what about the item locked behind glass? The one with a price so high that only a few can afford it? That's the one people desire. That's the one people chase. You were the clearance rack. You gave them everything for nothing. You were patient. You forgave. You understood. You overlooked every red flag, every excuse, every time they made you feel small. You thought, if you just held on, if you just proved yourself, one day they'd see your worth. But they didn't. They walked away and, worse, walked straight into the arms of someone else. I once knew someone who spent 6 years waiting for a person to choose them. 6 years of believing excuses. I'm not ready. I just need time. I'm going through things. And they believed it. They thought that if they just loved enough, stayed loyal enough, sacrificed enough, one day it would all pay off. Then one day, that person was engaged, not to them, but to someone else, someone they had only known for a year. And do you know why? Because the new person never gave them the chance to take them for granted. People do not commit to the ones who wait. They commit to the ones they fear losing. They commit to the ones who set the standards so high that only the worthy can reach them. They commit to the ones who walk away at the first sign of disrespect. And you, what are you doing? Still waiting, still hoping, still thinking that if you just hold on a little longer, they'll wake up and come back. Let me make this clear. They are not special. You just made them special in your mind. Society lied to you. They told you that love means sacrifice, that if you're patient and loyal, things will work out. But look around. How many people have wasted their best years waiting for someone who never chose them? How many have given everything only to be replaced by someone who demanded more from the start? So this is your choice. Wake up or keep wasting your time. Become the person who walks away or become the person who watches them build a life with someone else. Because what's coming next? I'm about to teach you how to make sure they regret the day they ever thought they could replace you. And trust me, they will. But here's the real test. Are you ready to step into your power? Are you ready to show them what happens when you finally put yourself first? Because the moment you do, the universe shifts, the energy changes, and suddenly they will feel your absence like never before. If you're ready to break free and take back your power, say it loud in the comments, I am worthy. Write it, claim it, feel it. And don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss what's coming next. Because what's next is going to change everything. 1. They never feared losing you, and that's why they left. A person never values what they believe they can always have. And yet here you are, waiting, hurting, torturing yourself over someone who never feared losing you, someone who walked away, picked someone else, and didn't even hesitate. Did they beg for you? Did they fight for you? Did they show up at your door, desperate to make things right? Number. They discarded you like yesterday's news. And now you sit here, replaying every moment, convincing yourself that love means suffering. But where is that suffering? You've been told to be patient, to wait, to prove your love, to believe that if you just hold on long enough, they'll realize what they lost. But let me ask you, when has that ever worked? How many people do you know who wasted their best years waiting for someone to wake up? How many gave everything only to be replaced the moment someone new came along? They didn't leave because someone else was better than you. They left because they could, because they believed they could find you somewhere else. And why? Because you gave them everything without making them earn it. Think about it. If a store started giving away diamonds for free, would people fight to get them? No, because there's no cost, no effort, no value attached. But put that same diamond behind glass with a price tag only the highest bidder can afford, and suddenly everyone wants it. You were the free diamond. You poured your love, energy, and loyalty into someone who never had to work for it. And because they never had to earn it, they never feared losing it. I once knew someone who spent 5 years waiting for a person to commit to them. 5 years of unconditional love. 5 years of patience, understanding, and forgiveness. 5 years of excuses. I'm not ready. I just need time. I'm going through things. And then, out of nowhere, they were engaged. Not to the one who waited, but to someone they had known for less than a year. And do you know why? Because the new person never gave them the chance to take them for granted. People do not leave what they are afraid to lose. They do not walk away from something they believe is rare. They only leave when they think they can replace it. And the truth? They thought they could replace you, but here's the real question. Were they right? Because you still believe they were special. You still believe if you had just been more, done more, given more, they would have stayed. But let's turn the question around. If they were truly special, would they have left so easily? Would they have let you suffer? Would they have chosen someone else, knowing the pain it would cause you? What happened wasn't a punishment. It was a lesson you needed to learn. Because if they'd chosen you while still taking you for granted, you would have spent your life begging for love that should have been given freely. I knew another person who spent years giving their best to someone who never appreciated them. They believed if they just loved hard enough, everything would change. Then, one day, they found out the truth. The one they'd sacrificed everything for had been seeing someone else. And do you know what hurt the most? Not losing them, but realizing they had lost themselves in the process. And that's the real tragedy. Not that they left, not that they chose someone else, but that you sacrificed yourself for someone who never deserved it. But here's the good news. You can rise from this. You can take every ounce of pain, every moment of heartbreak, and turn it into power. You can rebuild yourself so strong that by the time they realize what they lost, you won't even care. Because when someone finally chooses themselves, when they stop waiting, stop overgiving, stop settling for anything less than what they deserve, they become unreachable. So tell me, are you ready to stop being an option? Are you ready to stop begging for love? Are you ready to rise? Because what's coming next is going to change everything. Second, stop running after someone who replaced you like a used toy. Love is not a charity. You don't hand it out for free like a donation to someone who never earned it. And yet here you are, still hoping, still waiting, still giving your energy to someone who tossed you aside without a second thought. They didn't replace you because someone else was better. They replaced you because someone else was new. Ever seen a child beg for a shiny new toy? They swear it's all they've ever wanted, but the moment they have it, they lose interest. They throw it aside the second something else catches their eye. That's them. They're not deep, they're not special, they're just addicted to the thrill of something new, and you sit here thinking they won, thinking maybe if you had done more, loved harder, been less difficult, they would have stayed. Stop it. They didn't leave because you weren't enough. They left because they thought you would always be there. And guess what? If you keep waiting, crying, stalking their social media, hoping they'll regret it, you're proving them right. People only regret losing what they can never have again. Let that sink in. Right now, they don't miss you. They miss the power they had over you. They miss knowing that no matter how badly they treated you, no matter how many times they put themselves first, you were always an option. They don't regret losing you, not yet. Because as long as you're still watching, still hoping, still hurting, they know you haven't really left. And because of that, they feel nothing, want proof. I once knew someone who gave everything to a person who never valued them. They were always there, supporting, forgiving, loving, hoping. Then one day, without warning, that person walked away. No hesitation, no explanation. And within a week, they were posting pictures with someone else. They were shattered. How could they move on so fast? They asked. The answer was simple. They never feared losing them in the first place. They knew they could always come back. But then something changed. They stopped waiting, stopped crying, stopped hoping. They deleted their number, blocked them everywhere, and started living their life like they never existed. And guess what? Months later, there they were, in their DMs, sending weak, pathetic texts. "Hey, how have you been? I've been thinking about you a lot." Suddenly they were curious. Suddenly they missed them. Suddenly they wanted to know if they had moved on. But did they come back because they loved them? No. They came back because they were no longer an option. That's how people work. They don't process loss in real time. You felt the pain immediately when they left, when they started acting distant, when they stopped choosing you. But them, they won't regret it until they know they can never have you again. So why are you still running after them? Why are you still hurting over someone who didn't even flinch when they walked away? Do you really think they're sitting there missing you, lying awake at night, regretting what they lost? Let me tell you the truth. They won't feel the loss until you are truly gone. Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and energetically. Right now, they still feel you. They still know you're watching. They still know you care. And that gives them power. That keeps them comfortable. But the second they realize they no longer exist in your world, that's when the regret sets in. That's when they start wondering, have they met someone else? Do they even think about me anymore? Did I actually lose them? And uncertainty. People hate uncertainty. They are used to others waiting, used to others chasing, used to others breaking their own hearts for them. But you are about to break the cycle. You are about to stop being the one who waits. You are about to stop being the one who sits in pain, hoping they choose you. Because let me tell you something, people do not choose the ones who wait. They choose the ones who make themselves irreplaceable. And how do you do that? You stop chasing. You stop hoping. You stop giving a damn about someone who already proved they don't give a damn about you. You shift your energy. You take every ounce of love, every ounce of focus, every ounce of power you wasted on them, and you pour it into yourself. Because the truth is, you never lost them. You lost yourself. And now it's time to get yourself back. And trust me, they will feel it. 3. Disappear without a word and watch them feel it. Silence is your greatest weapon, and right now you're not using it. Instead, you're out here trying to explain yourself, trying to make them see what they lost, trying to get them to understand your worth. But let me tell you something, they already knew your worth. They just never thought they would lose it. And if you keep reaching out, if you keep searching for closure, if you keep showing them that you're still there, still hoping, still waiting, they will never regret losing you. You think talking will change something? You think if you just send one last message, if you just pour your heart out, if you just tell them how much they hurt you, they'll suddenly wake up and realize what they lost? No, you're giving them exactly what they want. As long as you're still talking, they know they still have a place in your heart. And as long as they know that, they feel nothing. People do not regret what they still have access to. Let that sink in. As long as they can still reach you, as long as they still know you're thinking about them, as long as they still feel like you haven't truly let go, they do not feel the loss. And that is why you must disappear, not just blocking them, not just ignoring them for a few days and then checking their profile to see what they're up to. No, I'm talking about complete and total silence. You do not explain. You do not beg. You do not give them one last conversation, because here's the truth. You don't need closure. Closure is an excuse to keep the door open just a little longer. Closure is a lie that makes you think you need their permission to move on. But here's the reality. They gave you closure the moment they left. They made their decision, and now it's time for you to make yours. Disappear. Go ghost. Erase them like they never existed. And trust me, when you vanish completely, that's when the panic sets in. At first, they'll feel nothing. They'll assume you're still hurting, still watching, still waiting for them to reach out. But then days pass, then weeks, then months, and suddenly it hits them. You're really gone. And that is when the regret sets in. I once knew someone who was stuck in a toxic cycle with a person who never valued them. Every time they left, they would beg for closure. They would write long messages asking why, try to make them see how much they had hurt them. And every time they were ignored. Until one day, they did something different. No explanation, no warning, no goodbye message. They vanished. At first, nothing happened. The other person went on living their life, thinking they were still out there, missing them. But then weeks passed, then months, and then the messages started coming. Random numbers, emails, mutual friends reaching out. And then one day they even showed up in person, not because they loved them, not because they finally realized they were the one, but because for the first time they actually felt their absence. And when they saw them, they weren't the broken person who had once begged for their love. They were glowing, they were happy, they were completely out of reach. And that's when they lost their mind. That's how you make someone regret losing you. Not by crying, not by explaining, not by hoping they'll come back, but by making sure that by the time they do realize what they lost, they can never have it again. And you're still sitting here thinking about sending that last message. You're still sitting here waiting for closure. You still don't get it, do you? You want them to regret losing you? Then disappear. Do not text them. Do not check their social media. Do not leave the door open for them to creep back in when they get bored. You owe them nothing. Because here's the truth. They are not sitting around missing you right now. They are not crying over you. They are not struggling to move on. They are enjoying their life, feeling free, knowing that you're still out there hurting. So let's flip the script. Let's make sure that by the time they finally start wondering about you, by the time they finally feel the silence, by the time they finally realize they lost something real, it's too late. And trust me, they will feel it. 4. They didn't win. They're just next in line. You think they won? You think they're better? You think they're living your dream? Stop lying to yourself. You once believed you were special too, didn't you? You thought they were different. You thought they would never hurt you. You believed your connection was stronger than anything else. And yet here you are, broken, confused, replaced, and them. They're just the next one in line. People don't change overnight. They didn't suddenly wake up and decide to be loyal, committed, and honest. They didn't magically transform into someone new just because they're with someone else. No, they are the same liar, the same manipulator, the same person who left you wondering what you did wrong. And guess what? The one they're with now will be in your position soon enough, because people like that don't build, they don't invest, they use. And when they've drained everything they can from someone, they move on, just like they did with you. You sit here torturing yourself, thinking they must be different, they must be better, they must have something you didn't. They don't. They're just new. And new is easy. Ever notice how people obsess over a brand new car? The fresh smell, the flawless design, the excitement of something untouched. At first it feels like a dream, but then the payments start rolling in, the maintenance begins, the little flaws start showing, and suddenly the thrill is gone. That's exactly what's happening right now. At this moment, everything feels fresh and exciting. They're seeing their best side. They're getting the version that's full of effort, full of charm, full of false promises, just like you once did. But give it time, because once the shine fades, once the reality of who they actually are starts creeping in, the cycle will begin again. And the one they're with now, they'll be the one left wondering what happened, why they became distant, why the person they thought they knew is slowly slipping away. I've seen it happen over and over. Someone once told me about their ex who left them after years together. Within weeks, they were flaunting a new relationship, acting like they had finally found the one. It was devastating. It felt like losing to someone better. But a year later, that same new person sent a message, desperate, broken, shattered. They wanted advice because that perfect person they were lying with, cheating, playing games with, doing the exact same things they once did to the one before them, were not winning. They were just next. And let me tell you something, the other person is not your enemy. You think they're your competition, but they're not. They're just another piece in the same twisted game. And when they finally realize the truth, they will feel exactly what you're feeling right now. So why are you sitting here acting like you lost? Why are you convincing yourself they're the lucky one? Why are you believing that if they're being treated better, it must mean you weren't worthy? They are not living your dream. They are living your nightmare. And one day, they will be the ones searching for answers, just like you are now. But what do you do with that truth? Do you sit here watching their every move, waiting for the relationship to crumble? Do you hope they suffer just so you can feel better? No, you make yourself untouchable. Because the real victory isn't watching their relationship fail. The real victory is building yourself into someone so powerful that by the time they realize what they lost, you won't even care. And trust me, they will feel it. 5. Rise so high that they become invisible. Let's get one thing straight. You don't win by making them jealous. You win by making them irrelevant. And yet here you are, still checking their page, still looking at their new partner's pictures, still wondering if they're thinking about you, still playing a game you were never meant to play. But let me tell you something. Real power isn't proving your worth to someone who threw you away. Real power is when their existence no longer matters to you. That's why the most powerful move you will ever make is not revenge, not jealousy, not trying to make them miss you. The most powerful move you will ever make is silence. And I know what you're thinking. But if I post something, won't they notice? If I look like I'm living my best life, won't they come crawling back? Listen to me. You are still thinking like someone who cares, and that is why you are still losing. Because the ones who truly move on, the ones who become untouchable, they don't even check if the other person is watching, because they are too busy winning to give a damn. Do you think rich people sit around wondering what their exes are doing? No, they are too busy getting richer. Do you think Beyoncé is scrolling through old messages? Do you think Rihanna is sitting there hoping an ex regrets losing her? Because they are too busy leveling up, too busy building lives so powerful, so elevated, so untouchable that their past doesn't even exist to them anymore. And that is exactly what you need to do. I once knew someone who was completely broken after being replaced. Their ex left them for someone younger, someone they thought was more exciting, and it crushed them. They stopped going out, stopped taking care of themselves, spent every night stalking their ex's social media, watching them flaunt their new relationship. But then, one day, they had enough. They cut them off completely, blocked them, deleted every picture, erased every memory, and then they poured every ounce of energy they had wasted into themselves. They hit the gym, started a new career, surrounded themselves with people who actually valued them, and slowly they became a new person. 3 years later, guess who came crawling back? Guess who sent a weak, pathetic message saying, "Hey, I've been thinking about you." But by then, they didn't even care. Because that person was no longer relevant in their world. That is the goal. Not to make them regret, not to make them jealous, not to get them back. The goal is to build a life so damn good that their memory doesn't even cross your mind. And yet here you are, still stalking their page, still looking at their new partner, still wondering if they're happy. What the hell are you doing? Why are you wasting your time, your energy, your power on someone who has already proven they don't deserve you? Do you honestly think they are sitting around obsessing over you the way you are over them? No, they're out living their life, and you're stuck in the past. The only way to break free, the only way to win, is to level up so hard that you don't even recognize the person who once cried over them. So here's what you do. You erase them from your life completely. You block, delete, unfollow, and detach. Because every time you check their page, every time you scroll through old messages, every time you replay the memories, you're keeping yourself stuck in a chapter that has already ended. And then you pour every ounce of energy you wasted on them into yourself. You glow up so hard, mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, that the next time they hear your name, it won't be because you're still crying over them. It'll be because you're out here winning. Because the real revenge? It's not proving them wrong. It's making them so irrelevant that you don't even care if they were ever right. And when you finally reach that level, that's when they will feel it. 6. They always come back, but this time you won't be there. You think they're gone for good? You think they've moved on, living their best life, forgetting you ever existed? You think they'll never look back? That's not how this works. Oh, they're coming back. But not because they love you, not because they finally realized your worth, not because they've become the person you always wanted them to be. They're coming back for one reason, and one reason only, to see if they still have access. That's it. That's the game. People always return when they feel your absence, when they notice the silence, when they look at their phone and realize your name isn't popping up anymore. Because here's the thing, people want what they can't have. And right now, you've been too damn easy to have. They never had to fight for you. They never had to earn you. They never had to fear losing you. And because of that, they never truly valued you. But now something is shifting. Now they're realizing something feels off. Now they're wondering if you've moved on. And that, not love, not regret, not self-improvement, is what makes them panic. I once knew someone stuck in a cycle with a person who never truly committed. They would leave, disappear for months, and then just when she was starting to move on, boom, a random text. "Hey, how have you been?" Like nothing ever happened. And every time she took them back, every time she convinced herself, maybe this time they're serious, maybe this time they've changed, maybe this time they really do miss me. But do you know what actually happened? The second they knew she was still there, the second she replied, even with the smallest bit of attention, they disappeared again. Because they never came back for her. They came back for their ego. They came back because they were bored. They came back to make sure she was still emotionally trapped. And that is what your ex is about to do. So let me ask you, are you really going to let them play the same trick on you? Are you really going to let them pull you back in just so they can walk away again? You better not. Because if you so much as answer that message, you just prove to them that you never actually left. And that's all they want to know. If you respond, even with just a simple, "Hey," you tell them they still have you. You tell them they can come and go as they please. You tell them you were waiting. And the second they know that, the second they feel that control again, they lose all regret. They stop missing you. They stop wondering. Because now they know you were never really gone. And just like that, they disappear again. And the cycle repeats again and again until one day you wake up and realize you've wasted years of your life on someone who was never afraid to lose you in the first place. So, let me say this loud and clear. When they come back, and they will, you do not respond. You do not give them closure. You do not give them another chance. You do not give them the satisfaction of knowing you still care. You let them sit in the silence. You let them feel your loss the way you felt theirs. You let them regret. And when they finally realize what they lost, when they finally start panicking, when they finally want you back for real, too damn late. Because by then, you will have moved on. And that is when they will feel it. 7. Never let them have access to you again. You don't take back someone who didn't choose you the first time. Read that again. Let it sink in. They had their chance, and they threw it away. So why, in this moment of doubt and heartbreak, are you even considering opening the door for them again? Why are you waiting for a person who already proved they could walk away from you without hesitation? Think about that for a second. Do you honestly believe they've changed overnight? Do you truly believe they've had a grand epiphany and suddenly realized your worth? More often than not, they come back because something else didn't work out, or because their latest fling lost its spark, or simply because they're curious if you're still there, still waiting. It has nothing to do with love and everything to do with convenience. They want to know if you're still an option, still willing to drop everything the minute they snap their fingers. It's like returning a product to a store only to ask for it back later. Does that product suddenly become more valuable the second time around? No, it's considered damaged goods. Once something has been returned or rejected, it carries the stigma of having been unwanted. That's exactly how they will see you if you let them back in. Not more valuable, but less. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, as the old saying goes. If you open the door again, you are giving them permission to take you for granted again. I once knew someone who let their ex return after being replaced. The ex whispered all the right words, played all the right games, and said everything that person had been longing to hear for months. For a moment, they felt a rush of validation. Finally, they thought, "I've won." They believed the ex had realized their mistake. But soon enough, the ex did it again. This time, they didn't even pretend to feel guilty about it. They left without looking back, and my friend was left more broken than before. Why does that happen? Because when someone believes you'll take them back no matter what, they lose every ounce of respect for you. They think you're a safety net. They assume you'll be there, arms wide open, ready to forgive and forget the moment they decide to stroll back in. And if you let them slip through the cracks of your self-esteem, they'll repeat that cycle until you decide you've had enough. Ask yourself, what makes me think they've become a different person? Maybe they offer vague apologies or blame everything on their own fear of commitment. Maybe they promise they've turned over a new leaf. But big transformations don't happen just because they woke up feeling lonely one day. Life-changing growth takes time, effort, and genuine remorse. It involves seeking therapy or doing deep introspection. It's a full re-evaluation of their choices, not a spur-of-the-moment urge to revisit the past. Even if they have changed, remember that you were not a priority when they had you. You should never have to convince someone to treat you with basic decency. You should never have to beg for the loyalty and respect you naturally deserve. Love is not a negotiation where you plead for scraps of affection. It's a mutual exchange built on trust, effort, and genuine commitment. Picture a house you've lovingly built, brick by brick. Someone comes along, kicks down the door, and leaves the place in ruins. Are you going to hand them a hammer and nails when they come back, expecting them to fix it all? Or are you going to rebuild it yourself, stronger than before, and lock the door behind them for good? Because that's what you deserve, to live in a fortress of self-respect so strong that no one can barge in, trash your heart, and waltz out again without consequences. But what if they truly love me, you might ask? Real love doesn't vanish when something new and shiny appears. Real love doesn't walk away without a backward glance, only to pop up again when it's convenient. Genuine love is consistent, reliable, and safe. It doesn't feel like emotional whiplash. It doesn't make you question whether you're good enough or wonder if you're just a placeholder until they find something better. Another question that might haunt you is, what if I never find anyone else? That fear is powerful, but it's also a lie you tell yourself in moments of vulnerability. Holding on to someone who disrespected your worth doesn't make you safer from loneliness. It just locks you into a cycle of pain. You end up living in fear, anxious that they'll leave again at any moment, because they almost certainly will. It's like clinging to a sinking ship, hoping the hole in the hull will fix itself when you should be swimming for shore. Remember that you are not a second chance. You are not a consolation prize for someone who wasted their first shot. You are allowed, required even, to protect your peace. You are worth more than someone's half-hearted commitment or their fleeting bursts of attention. You are worthy of a love that chooses you every single day without hesitation. So the next time you feel that tug in your heart, that soft nostalgia whispering, maybe I should let them in just one more time, close your eyes and remember the pain they caused. Remember the nights spent wondering where they were or why you weren't enough to keep them around. Remember the moment you realized they walked away without a shred of remorse. Let those memories guide you to lock the door and swallow the key. Never let them have access to you again. Once they've shown you who they are, your job is to believe them, protect your peace, and carry on, building a future untainted by their second-hand intentions. You don't need to see if they've truly changed. By then, you'll be too busy thriving to even care. That's the real victory, living a life so full, so radiant, that their absence becomes a footnote instead of a defining chapter. You don't wonder what might have been. You know exactly what was, and you choose to leave it in the past where it belongs. Raise your standards and keep them high, because they don't get to come back and act like nothing happened. They lost that privilege the day they walked away.